This is Akashwani. Time for a weekly program, Our Guest. I hand over the mic to the show host, Nitish Arora, for the same.
Welcome to our guest. Today we are taking a very sensitive topic. Right now, the youngsters are at home because of the summer vacations. To some parents, they say that the troublemakers are at home and you want your kids to grow up strong. So that happens to be the topic of today's discussion on growing up strong. And I have with me Mrs. Manisha Abbasi. She's an educationist. She has served with the school for almost 14 years. And then she branched out. She said the canvas was very small and she wanted to include more youngsters to be part of her campaign of making them grow up strong. Manisha ji, welcome to our studios.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here.
Growing up strong, mentally strong, emotionally strong, good human beings, good citizens. How tough is that now? Because there are lots and lots of issues that are confronting the kids. I won't say the parents.
When you say the kids have a lot of issues to deal with, I'll completely agree with you because the canvas of kids have changed. It has widened beyond our imaginations, beyond what their parents can even think. That's what the children are right now engaged in. So that is the first most important factor, I would say, which makes this issue a little difficult for parents to deal with. But at the same time, I would say, with my education experience, I would say that if we are dealing with them right from the beginning, if we are nurturing them right from the beginning in a manner that they're able to make those right choices, I don't think it's a big issue. At some point, they have to fly out of their nest and make those right choices for themselves. Earlier, it was thought that, okay, the time is when they become adults. But right now, the time is coming backwards. They are dealing with things, they are dealing with world in their own way, and thanks to technology that is possible today, it has its own benefits. But then, of course, if it is going in the hands of a child where the choice is not developed fully, then it becomes a perilous decision or a perilous path to walk on. And that is what sadly is the state right now.
Only a few days ago, there was a press release indicating the deaths in youth in India. And the highest number of deaths was by suicide, followed by road accidents. And the youngsters, these are the two things that come up big. And if that one child goes missing either by suicide or by a death on the road in accident, that is very traumatic.
Missing a human soul would be traumatic even if it's a big group of people.
Absolutely.
The soul would be missed. But then the question for us to think is that why is this happening? Is it because there is something that the child is dealing with alone? Have I left our children with all the facilities, with all the, I would say, anything that they require? But then we still have left them alone. Is it because of that? Is it because of the academic pressure that we have on them, because of the expectations we have from our children as parents? We have to think about that. So are we, with all these realities around us, our children have to be achievers, they have to make a difference in the world, but then are we equipping them with the basics of dealing with their own selves? Because that is where it starts for everybody. So are we equipping our children to be able to deal with their emotion when they face a small setback, say losing a race at school? So what are we telling our child at that point decides how will my child cope up with a bigger failure? Because life is not a bed of roses for everybody. There would be successes, there would be failures. So I would say that the trick lies in a child, or for that matter, any human being, to be able to deal with the setback with a growth mindset. So are we equipping our child with that growth mindset? Because if the child has a growth mindset, the child is not just focused on, okay, I have not been able to achieve this, I'm a failure. The child with a growth mindset is going to think that, so this is what I did and this is the outcome. So what is it that I do differently if I want a different outcome? So the child is able to set the goal for himself or herself and they decide the course of action. So they take up that complete responsibility. So it starts from very basic step of acknowledging your emotions. So the child knows I'm disappointed today because I've not been able to win that race. But then the child is also able to manage that emotion and say, all right, today I'm feeling like this. How do I come out of that feeling? And then now what choice do I make? What step do I take? I'm taking a very little example of a little race of maybe a grade 1 or grade 2 child, but the process is the same for everybody. So if I have to win the race, what is it that I need to work on? Do I need to work on my stamina, my speed? How do I do that? It doesn't come in a day. It doesn't come with, okay, today you've lost, let's go and cheer up and let's do something. The child would then decide that, okay, if I have to win this race tomorrow, I have to work out every day. I have to practice this much every day. I have to have healthy food.
On that note, I would like to introduce my listeners to an upcoming Our Guest program wherein I have invited Arjun Singh. He is an upcoming swimmer, and I was covering Khelo India Youth Games. And in the first race, he lost the race and he came second. I went all the way up to him to interview him, and he said, "Oh, you will interview me a lot many times now because I am going to win a lot many other medals." And he ended up with winning 4 gold medals. I think that is the kind of approach, that is how we want to raise them strong. So we have arrived at the question now.
Right.
I'm now seeking answers from you. We need to recalibrate perhaps the parents, the school system, the society, and the child also.
Right.
So what is the need of the hour? What we need to do now?
I think the first thing we can do is create safe spaces for our children. And
Safe
when
spaces.
safe spaces where they are able to express themselves fully, whatever they are feeling. There is no judgment. Now, this is a safe space we need at school. This is the safe space we need at home, which means that my child knows that, of course, there is a good expectation. The expectation comes from the child himself because the child has set the goal. But then after that, whatever the child is going through, there would be dilemmas, there would be doubts in the process of achieving something. But the child knows that I am in that safe space at home, that I can share whatever I want to, whatever I'm going through today. Similarly, there is a safe space at school. The child is able to share their emotions, also share their doubts. So the educators need to transform that learning space into that safe space so that learning can happen. Because learning cannot happen in an atmosphere where the children are in a position that, okay, if I raise this question, would I be laughed at? Which generally happens in many of our classrooms. That is why...
Not many, but all, I guess.
Yes. So I've been fortunate enough to see some of such classrooms where the effort is to create such safe spaces, and we've been able to do that. That is why...
But then there is a peer pressure also, because it's maybe the pressure is not coming from the school administration, from the
Yes.
teachers, for the principals, but from your fellow students.
Definitely there is. But then when we talk of understanding of emotion, now that emotion could be emerging from anywhere. It could be emerging from a remark that my peer made. It could be emerging from what will they think. To give you a small example, a sportsman, you mentioned a sports person, somebody who's majorly into sports, their identity is around sports.
And they learn to lose also.
They learn to lose. So sports is a wonderful way. But now think of such a child who's in grade 5 or 6 and good at sports, but now this child wants to experiment with art. Because we are so tied with our identities that when this child shows the painting to a friend, the friends say, "Oh, what have you done? Oh, I didn't know you wanted to do this also." Now the person who's trying out becomes doubtful of his own self. That is it something I shouldn't do because it doesn't go with my image? So that is something which starts from, it can come from anywhere. It could be a curious friend. It could be a friend who wants to laugh at you. Somebody who's not so
bullies in
sensitive.
school.
Yes, bullying happens. So somebody who's maybe quiet, who doesn't speak so much, but then could have wonderful ideas. But then because the expression does not display that, so there's a lot of bullying happening. So which means that the child should know that, okay, this is what bullying makes me feel. How do I stand up for it?
Exactly. You spoke about giving them a protected space, or a space wherein they are very free. But then the pressures will remain. Every passing day, the kind of pressure that the society is putting upon an individual, maybe a youngster, even the grown-ups, the pressures will be there. They
will.
have to learn to deal with those pressures.
So now how do I navigate that pressure? Which means I understand what is that making me feel? How do I cope with that? When I'm feeling low because of there is some pressure, what do? Do I just lock myself in a room and just sulk, or do I go out and go for a run, or do I go out and water my plants, or do I just sit and read something which I like or listen to some music? So these are all coping mechanisms which children learn as they're growing up.
Earlier on, there was a space for your hobbies and the other extracurricular things that you wanted to do. And nowadays, there is a pressure in excelling in those extracurricular also.
As well, yeah. So that is one peril which is happening. But what I'm particularly talking about here is that what is your coping mechanism when you are feeling a certain emotion? I've had a bad day at work. What do I do after that? I go home and shout at everybody, or I do deep breathing and center myself. I ground myself before I communicate with others. I process that emotion for myself and I find out the way out of it. That is the coping mechanism I'm talking about. And with children, the same thing happens. We think that, okay, right now they're just children. They wouldn't know, or they don't experience all these things. That's not true. A 3-month-old child has this innate capacity to differentiate between what is right and what is wrong. This is proven by research. So right from there, and that is the time when the neural connections are building. So if they have a supportive environment at that time where whatever their needs are, they are being fulfilled, they're understood, you will find a child who does not cry so much. Because the child is understood by people around them. And also the child is able to see what is happening in the environment and judge it. So that is the time till the age of 6. Maximum neural connections happen and maximum of your social and emotional, I would say, strands develop. So that's when you learn how to adjust in life, how to navigate through a situation the most. Of course, we keep learning throughout our life.
So then every child is different and every situation is different. There are a lot of ways and methods. Are there any standard formulas or 1 to 10 tips that you would want to give to us and through radio, through Akashvani, to the parents and to the children?
So the most important thing is safe space. At schools, at home, parents give a space for their children to talk about themselves, not just talk about their achievements, just talk about themselves. Number 2, we develop growth mindset in our children. Number 3, we make them critical thinkers so that anything that comes in front of them, they just don't absorb. They think about it and then see whether they need that information or not, because there is such an information overload. So there cannot be any external measure that we can have. It can only be our internal locus of control. So the child decides whether this is relevant for me or not. So we have to build that muscle of critical thinking and making choices. I think that would be the most important thing.
So 1 to 3, you have got 3 points, and most of the parents are, I can understand the kind of situation, and anybody can understand is that the pressure of the societies are too much. But to make them grow strong is to make them emotionally equipped with the pressures that they have to handle. You cannot tell them there is an ideal situation. You cannot tell them that there will be an ideal world where you can live. You have to live and survive here only.
I wouldn't call it surviving. I would call it for every human life to thrive. This is how it proceeds. I understand myself first. I know how to manage myself. And then I extend my hand and I build a relationship with others. And that you would see plays on everywhere. Once I'm able to build those relationships, I do get support whenever I require. And then I make responsible choices at every point in life, and I work for the world around me as well. I make it a better place.
So, responsible choices. At the end of the game, we got to that particular mantra that is actually going to take you through. Responsible choices. Manisha Abbasi, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you so much, Nitish.
You were listening to the weekly program Our Guest, that is broadcast every Monday at 9:15 a.m. Don't forget to tune in next week, same day, same time and same frequency for more on Our Guest. Have a nice day.